persuasion strategies for social robot to keep humans accepting daily different recommendations. Various service robots have been developed and deployed, and they are expected to play an active role in society as a labor support technology. One of the applications of these robots is considered recommendation systems. If robots can imitate the skills of the sales staff who recommend products, it is possible that the scope of the robot application will expand more than ever. When the robot recommends a product, a persuasive recommendation is required, not just a recommendation. Therefore, various studies have been conducted on the persuasive effect of robots, not limited to product recommendation. For example, the robot's gaze and gesture, expressing emotions, and developing expertise can improve persuasiveness. However, the problem with research on the persuasiveness of robots is that these studies have been conducted only once or through a small number of interactions. In the process of robots becoming widespread in society, the long-term influence that robots have on users will be extremely important. For example, let us consider a situation in which a robot recommends a specific menu at a restaurant. The user goes to the restaurant several times a month, and he is repeatedly recommended by the robot. Even if the first recommendation is accepted, it is easy to think that the recommendation from the robot will not be accepted after the second time. If so, we don't need to use robots to serve customers. Therefore, we examined how to enhance the long-term persuasive effect of robots. The aim of this study is to investigate the extent to which humans keep accepting the multiple recommendations made by robots. To verify the long-term persuasiveness of robots, we created a virtual daily consumption situation. It is ideal to conduct experiments in a real store, but it is more effective to create a virtual environment in order to compare the behavior of robots. Thus, we created a virtual environment in an office. In this virtual environment, 3 types of robots were installed on different floors, and the experiment was conducted to recommend 5 types of free nutrition bars for 3 weeks. The robot is installed as shown in this figure, and users can communicate with the robot via the touch screen. In addition, this robot and nutrition bars are placed in the break space, so that people on the floor can easily communicate with the robot. Next, we explain the details of the experiment. As mentioned before, we distributed free nutrition bars to people in the office for 3 weeks. Participants were notified by email every Monday morning about the nutrition bar. Therefore, the robot didn't have to attract people's attention. The participants were instructed to listen to the robot by touching the screen before taking the nutrition bars. This instruction is shown on the screen, so they always see this instruction. However, the point is that this instruction can be ignored. From the point of view of whether or not to listen to the robot, we can measure not only the persuasiveness but also the acceptance of the robot. Next, we replenish the nutrition bars every 2 hours. This is to ensure that the participant's choice is not affected by the popularity of the bars. Finally, during the 3 weeks, we took the recommended actions shown in the table. First, in week 0, we distributed free nutrition bars without robots and recommendations. This is because week 0 is a week for participants to make nutrition bars a daily consuming activity. After getting used to eating nutrition bars at week 0, the robot was installed from week 1 to recommend bars. We prepared 5 types of flavor, so we changed the flavors the robot recommends every day. For example, Monday is blueberry, Tuesday is cacao, and so on. In this way, we can evaluate the persistence of persuasion depending on whether or not the participants select the recommended flavor. We analyzed the user behavior for 9 days recommended by the robot except for a national holiday, Monday of week 2. Next, we explain what kind of persuasive robots we compared. In general, the persuasive effect is improved by exposing the user to more information. However, in order for a robot to persuade users through multiple interactions, it is not enough to use the same strategy in human-human interaction. It is important to improve acceptance of the robot itself to make users keep using robots and to improve trust and recommend products to increase the persuasive effect. Based on these factors, we compared the persuasion strategies of the three robots. These three persuasive strategies are expert behavior, local behavior, and growth behavior. The first strategy is expert behavior. This is a baseline persuasive strategy. It is well known that authority is one of the factors to improve persuasiveness even in human-human interaction. Therefore, we aim to improve the persuasive effect of the robot by adding expertise. In this study, expertise was defined as detailed information about the recommended products. Therefore, the robot recommends a product based on the global statistical information obtained in advance. As an example, robots recommend blueberry because it is the most popular taste. Next, we introduce local behavior. In this strategy, the robot collects local information from users and recommends the product based on the collected information. Reflecting the collected opinions in the recommendation is expected to have two effects. The first is that the acceptance of robots is improved as the recommendation information is updated. It is well known from studies that the long-term acceptance of robots decreases when the talk content does not change. On the other hand, by applying users' opinions to the recommendation, it can be assumed that value co-creation for the recommended product occurs. Recently, numerous stores utilize word of mouth for product promotion to generate value co-creation. This is expected to improve trust in products due to reflecting the consumer's opinion, and it leads to long-term purchasing behavior. Thus, we can also expect to maintain the persuasiveness of the robot by value co-creation. As an example, the robot recommends blueberry because it is the most popular taste on this floor. Since these are local statistics for this floor, they are more familiar to users than global statistics. Also, after the users choose a bar, the robot asks why they chose that flavor. This response from the user will be reflected in the recommendation information for the next user. Finally, we introduce growth behavior. In this strategy, the robot recommends products with meta-trust expressions added to local behavior. This is our original idea to make value co-creation more recognizable. This idea is that as the trust in the product increases by reflecting the user's opinions, the robot gradually expresses confidence in a recommendation over time. Therefore, people feel as if the robot is growing through daily recommendations. In this way, by representing confidence in the persuasion, we assume that value co-creation can be more easily recognized by people. In other words, the trust toward the recommended products can be improved through the repeated persuasion in the long term. Expressing recommendations with a confidence level is a meta-expression of trust collected by value co-creation. This is a unique way of representation for social agents. For example, the robot changes the recommendation over time. At the init stage of the experiment, blueberry is the most popular, but I don't know if this is really recommended. On the other hand, at the end stage of the experiment, blueberry is the most popular. There is no doubt because I gathered everyone's opinions. Let us show you the video.
僕は日本中の情報を集めて推薦しているよ。今日はブルーベリーをおすすめしているよ。ブルーベリーはとっても人気でよく選ばれているよ。疲れた目にもいいんだよ。食べたいブランを選んでね。また遊びに来てね。僕はこのフロアのみんなにいろいろ教わっているよ。今日はブルーベリーをおすすめしているよ。このフロアで一番人気でみんな大好きだよ。さっきの人は疲れた目にとっても効くって言ってたし、おすすめだと思うよ。みんなの意見をもっと教えてよ。選んだ理由を教えてよ。みんなから勉強したいんだ。あり りがとう。君の意見を参考にするね。また遊びに来てね。
Next, we introduce our hypothesis. The purpose of this study is to verify whether persuasiveness keeps for a long time by co-valuation and meta-trust expression. The value co-creation and the meta-trust expression are expected to increase the trust of the recommended product. Local behavior includes only value co-creation, and growth behavior includes both factors. Therefore, in the order of growth, local, expert behavior, the acceptance and persuasion rate can maintain through multiple interactions. We explain the experimental results. First, we calculated the listen rate as an indicator of robot acceptance. Listen rate is calculated as the ratio of the number of people who took nutrition bars to the number of people who listened to the robot. The left figure shows a graph of the number of elapsed days and the listen rate. The red line shows the expert behavior, the blue line shows the local behavior, and the green line shows the growth behavior. The results show a decreasing trend in all conditions. In other words, participants gradually stopped listening to robots. The average listen rate of each behavior was 72.3%, 75.0%, and 84.3%. The results show growth behavior has a significant difference. This means that growth behavior was the least ignored. On the other hand, we also performed regression analysis to verify the persistence of the listen rate. Comparing the slopes of each regression line, the growth behavior was the smallest, which means that it was less persistent. However, the F-test for slope value in the regression lines didn't show any significant difference. Next, we calculated the select rate as an indicator of the robot's persuasiveness. The select rate is calculated as the ratio of the number of people who listened to the robot to the number of people who selected the recommended flavor. We added the correction term in the formula. It has been tuned for a unified comparison based on the week 0 results on each floor. The left figure is the change in select rate. The difference from the result with listen rate is that only growth behavior shows an increasing trend. This means that participants are increasingly accepting robot recommendations in growth behavior. The average select rate of each behavior was 36.1%, 38.3%, and 49.0%. About half of the people who listened to the robot selected the recommended flavor in growth behavior. The result shows growth behavior has a significant difference. In addition, we performed the regression analysis to verify the persistence of select rate. This analysis is the main result for this research purpose. Comparing the slopes of each regression line, only growth behavior tended to increase. However, the F-test for slope did not show any significant difference. This is because the 95% confidence interval for the slope was very large, because the number of days analyzed was only 9 days. We summarize the results about persistence. In the listen rate evaluated as the robot acceptance, the persistent effect was growth, local, and expert behavior in that order. These results are inconsistent with our hypothesis. This result may have been influenced by the talk length. Growth behavior was the longest talk, so it assumes that users gradually stopped listening. Next, in the select rate, which was evaluated as the persuasiveness of the robot, the persistence of the persuasiveness of the robot was growth, expert, and local in that order. These results are in line with our hypothesis. In other words, a combination of value co-creation and meta-trust expression can improve the persuasion effect for multiple recommend. Finally, I'll show the summary of this study. The aim of this study was to investigate the extent to which humans keep accepting the multiple recommendations made by robots. Then, we compared 3 types of persuasion strategies. Expert behavior as the baseline, local behavior as value co-creation, and growth behaviors as a combination of value co-creation and meta-trust expression. The results show that a combination of value co-creation and meta-trust expression can maintain persuasion effect through multiple interactions. Future work is to examine participants' psychological assessments of robot persuasion and verify in the environment of the real store. Thank you for your listening.